Hello guys, welcome back to BoreDraw. We are on episode number 16. We're covering game week 2 of the Premier League. We're going to have a little special guest this episode as well. We've got the special guest flying.
Yeah, come on. All sorts of connections.
Yeah.
How do you think game week 2 went?
Game
Actually,
week
before
two-
we get into that,
Oh.
hope everyone enjoyed our last podcast. It was a special one. Got
banger.
the boys on. Yeah, it was a banger. We'll do more of that. Shout out to the podcast room. That was a sick little space. So
yeah, if you're ever down to do a podcast, you want to get your hand involved, check them out. Very good.
But yeah, game week 2. Talk to me.
Game week 2. What? Do you know what? It was a good week. It was a good week of football. Some strange results in there.
There was.
And it's all kicked off with Aston Villa versus Everton.
Yeah.
Gerrard versus Lampard.
yeah.
Yeah. The Villains came out 2-1 victorious.
Shit game of football, though, in my opinion.
It was two teams that really look like they're going to struggle this season.
Two teams that are both very scared to lose, and you could tell that. I think both managers know they can't play very expansive football, both because the players in the squad aren't good enough.
And the managers.
Also that. And also if they do and get turned over, their heads will be gone.
Yeah.
I think both of these teams are one big loss away from losing their manager.
I mean, Gerrard and Villa, they spent a lot of money. They've
money.
recruited a lot of players.
So much money.
So, how can they be in a position now where they can't afford to play expansive football? Yeah. And they sort of got to, play this really narrow sort of 4-3-2-1.
Well, the thing is, he's been in that Villa role with, his team. He's signed a lot of players, like you said. And I feel like he still doesn't know his best 11.
Yeah, I agree.
He has no idea what his best front line is. He's chopping and changing his defenders, the whole Tyrone Mings situation. Yeah, now Diego Carlos has ruptured his Achilles.
Yeah, that's it. So he's out for a long time, 6 to 9 months, isn't it?
So, yeah, it's like you're alienating one of your centre-backs for him to now become your starting centre-back because the guy you brought in to replace him has been injured.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, though, Tyrone Mings had a pretty good game. I thought he was
I thought he would play well, yeah.
But how hard is it to play against a team who don't have a striker?
Yeah, that's the thing. Everton, in my opinion, they looked all right. Iwobi looks like a changed man in centre mid.
Yeah, it's sort of Joe Linton, the role swap, and
he looks good in centre mid. But yeah, like you said,
do you reckon that's because he doesn't have to? He's not as isolated, basically.
I think for me, his problem was always his decision making around the box. It's so bad. At Arsenal, he was so good at taking on players. It's kind of like in that Danny Welbeck kind of mould in the sense that
really talented player. Anything
up until the box, so good, top tier. But then you get in and around the box and they shit the bed. They lose. Their final decision making in and around the box is really poor. So if you take him away from having to make those final decisions and you just let him play the ball in and around the midfield, I think he's got kind of Eze vibes in the sense that like you said with Eze, he always has so much time on the ball.
Generate space, yeah.
Iwobi's quite like that. He seems to always have time on the ball to do what he wants to do, and I think this centre mid role is quite good for him. Yeah,
so obviously Everton, what's going on? I mean, Calvert-Lewin's out injured. Anthony Gordon's sort of playing a striker.
Dele Alli's
off
for
Besiktas.
Yeah, it's a
and it's not for a hair transplant.
We got to do a segment on the absolute downfall that is Dele Alli's career.
It's actually quite crazy. Sad to watch because he was so good at points.
So I saw Simon Jordan on TalkSport today saying that Dele Alli was never as good as people were saying he was.
He was.
And I don't think people were saying he was fucking the second coming of Messi.
He wasn't going to be like Messi, but he was good.
In that time, he was England's best prospect.
No, he was going to be England's next golden boy. Because after Wilshere obviously had his injury crisis.
Before the likes of Saka, Foden...
Yeah, he was the middleman.
Sancho, yeah. So he was like that bridge between those two eras. And yeah, his career is just taken an absolute dive.
And you see all the Mourinho quotes as well at the minute.
Yeah, I saw those.
Popping up being if you don't reach your potential or try to reach it, you'll always be disappointed.
Yeah, 100%.
But Everton, they're lacking a striker, and it's so obvious. I mean, Danny Ings for Villa got on the score sheet, a nice little finish.
Yeah, it was a nice finish, actually.
I thought Ollie Watkins looked fairly dangerous as well.
I think that's the thing with Ollie Watkins. Every game I watch him, he's so dangerous, but he just never gets the goals or the assists. I think he might be like the Iwobi in the fact that his decision-making around the box could do
with a lot of improvement.
Yeah, I think so.
I think yeah, if Danny Ings can get firing for Villa, obviously we know he can do it. He's done it at Southampton.
Yeah, he had like 20 goals one season at Southampton.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly is a good player.
Yeah.
So and we know he's probably like not far off like the sort of like second, third tier of like strikers in the Premier League.
Yeah, he'd be in that kind of bracket just below the likes of Harry Kane, Haaland.
Yeah, he's probably like a Callum Wilson sort of like
100%.
player. But yeah, I mean, Everton lacking a striker. Anthony Gordon's also been linked with Chelsea. 45 million bid rejected.
I know that he is now their like prized asset.
Yeah.
But 45 million for Gordon seems like a fucking hell of a lot of money for someone that's had
surely you take
half a good season. Yeah, I'd
surely
take
you
that.
take that and you reinvest and you get like a good 20 million striker in.
Well, like we said in one of the first episodes, I think the one where we previewed Everton, their recruitment is definitely the worst in the league.
Well, I don't think they've got any money to spend. I know they sold Richarlison as well. But, like, do they have money to spend? I don't think so.
Well, they got, like, a new stadium getting built, and we know, like, Arsenal back in day, and Tottenham now, kind of, although Tottenham splashed the cash this window. But paying for a new stadium does take a toll transfer-wise. You can't do the same business that you want to.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be a hard season for Everton.
You'd love to see it.
I don't know if Lampard is going to be there come December.
Yeah.
But the problem is, who do you get in? Who's going to want to take up that daunting job? Because if they get relegated, they are in trouble.
Sean Dyche, maybe. He's in the...
around. Yeah, do you know, that's not the worst shot I've heard.
But, yeah, for me, Everton, they need to... The window closes in 2 weeks. I know that players... They got like that Onana, he had like a 20-minute cameo. He looked really good.
Yeah.
It was crazy. His first touch led to a Villa goal. And then his literally like third and fourth touch led to an Everton goal. He had like the craziest cameo.
What do you think about Dwight McNeil?
Another person, I feel like there's quite a lot of these people in the Prem. Maybe we should get in the Prem. But players that are good until you get in and around the box, and then they're just lacking that killer instinct.
See, we're terrible until we get to the box. And then we're kind of good.
Bash! We're like finding top bins every time. But yeah, he's kind of in that kind of mold where like he'll get to the box as well. Very techie. But then can't do the final final bit.
Bits. Yeah, we're going to take a little short break. I know we're going to be here for about 10 minutes. We'll take a little short break. We've got a little interview to do that you'll be hearing later on in the episode. Get excited. It's a good one.
See you in a bit.
All right, see you in a minute.
So, guys, we've got a very special guest here today. He's going to talk to us all about his beloved Nottingham Forest, who have made their way back into the Premier League.
For the first time in what? 20?
First time in a while, yeah.
Years?
So, this is Chris from the ForestAllOver podcast. Chris, how you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thanks very much. I wouldn't call myself special, but Forest definitely have a special place in my heart. And yeah, I'm an absolute dreamland, to be honest. 23 years out of the Premier League, and now we're back.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. I can imagine it's a kind of you kind of got your blinders on at the moment. You're kind of just taking everything as it comes. Whatever happens. It's like back in the Prem.
It's a strange one being outside the Premier League for so long, because obviously there's a whole generation of Forest fans who've never seen their team in the Premier League.
Absolutely. It is odd. I think, I started supporting Forest, and bear in mind, I'm from Ireland, right? So I started supporting Forest when everyone was supporting Man U and Liverpool back in like 1996, right? That was the first season I had, and they went down straight away, and then they came back up, and then they went down, and then they were down for good. But I had a little hint of hope in those. I mean, I wouldn't call it hope because they're both relegation seasons, but in those two Premier League seasons, I got to see Forest play in the Premier League. And yeah, there's just a massive generation of people who are like in their 20s or teens or whatever who've never known Forest being in the Premier League. So in their eyes, it's probably really weird to see them in the top flight.
Yeah, it is a strange one. So
should we start?
We'll
start with last year.
Yeah.
And kind of.
So last year the season started, and you had Chris Hughton. And for previous seasons in the Championship, I'm a QPR fan.
Nice.
So I've
Luke knows the kind of being in the Prem, then not being in the Prem struggle.
All too well, yeah. But yeah, so and one of the things about Forest in the Championship was that they would always have these massive transfer windows where they would bring in tons of players, and then they would ship out quite a few players, and then they'd bring in loads more players. And so Chris Hughton came in, and I think you were bottom when he left, right?
Yeah, we were rock bottom.
Yeah, rock bottom. And then Steve Cooper came in. So initially, obviously, Steve Cooper worked within the England setup, had a lot of success there. Were you optimistic about his arrival?
I'll tell you what. I mean, we had been through so much, even to rewind a bit further back from the year before that, where we had that absolute bottle job last day of the season, 3 points clear and 5+ goal difference. And in the end, we lost and slipped out of the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
You might remember that. It was Steve Cooper who was actually the manager of Swansea who got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But a year later, we had Houghton, and I thought he kind of stabilized the ship because we looked like we were relegation candidates the season before. But then when he went on that run, 6 losses in 7 games, 1 point out of a possible 21, I thought we were gone to League One. I thought that was it. And then hearing Steve Cooper had come in, um, I just thought, okay, I think this guy can keep us up. That's what I thought, which to be honest was a good thing at the time because we were doing so badly. And I'd looked at his record.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd looked at the fact that he won the World Cup with the under-17s. I looked at the fact that he brought Swansea to 2 playoffs. And I was a little bit optimistic with that. But never in my wildest dreams could I imagine we would go on the run we did, make the playoffs, get to Wembley, make it to the Premier League. That's
do it the best way.
Yeah,
as well,
the best
That is
way.
the way to do it.
Yeah. Unreal. I mean, unbelievable, to be honest. And as a QPR fan, Luke, it's you, Luke, who's a QPR fan, right?
Yes.
You've seen this happen before. You saw when I was a few years ago now where Neil Warnock was the manager and Tarapt was in. It might be 10 years ago now. And that was like
Mate, it was a long time ago. 2010, 11.
Wow, okay, it shows my age there. But that was a fairy tale season for Queen's Park Rangers. I remember it. I remember watching it, thinking there's no way they're not going up this season. And there was just so much going on. And there's a documentary about it, actually. I think it's called like the 4-year plan. Yeah. So that's what it felt like for me with Forest. It was just, you just kind of, towards the end, you were like, I mean, what's not to believe anymore? We'd beaten Arsenal in the FA Cup. We'd beaten Leicester in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I mean, you couldn't, I don't know, you couldn't write it, but you kept believing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the job that Steve Cooper did when he came in was sort of unbelievable in the sense that you literally went from being this sort of easy to beat team where you're bottom of the league, and then suddenly you've had this meteoric rise, and you've seen stars develop in like Brennan Johnson, obviously Jed Spence, Keenan Davis,
James Garner
in midfield as well. Colback had a great season playing that sort of left wing back role as well, sort of like reinvented himself there.
Yeah,
I wonder when Cooper came in, what his remit was. Was it just stabilise the ship, make sure we don't get relegated, or do you think it was maybe?
Was it a project?
Yeah. Was it like, we don't care, even if we do get relegated with you, you're going to stay our manager and we believe in what you're going to do for the club? What do you think his remit was when he first got approached for the job?
It's hard to tell because with Steve Cooper, whenever a player is injured or something happens, he always keeps his cards close to his chest. So when he first came in, I think he was like, look, we're just going to do the best we can. But I think deep down, he was probably thinking mid-table. And then he was probably thinking a season later we'll go for like first, second, or playoffs. Yeah. So I think he was thinking mid-table, which at the time was very, very it was reasonably high expectations considering the season before.
I was gonna say,
So I think that's what he was thinking. But I think the chairman was like, just keep us up and win some games and then build a team. That's it. I don't think anyone could imagine he would do it that quick. And it's worth noting that Dane Murphy had just come in as well. He was at Barnsley 2 years before as our CEO. And he's like my age. He's like 35, 36. He's a smart young CEO. And he was he was the one that wanted Steve Cooper to come in. He picked him out of everyone because Wilder was in for the job. And he's worth noting as well.
Well, he was the one in charge of Barnsley when they signed Valerian Ismail, and they had that like really good season, like sort of impressing that sort of gegenpress sort of style of football when they done very well in the Championship.
He was,
But yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I just thought I'd mention it because the two of them came in sort of at the same time. It was Murphy, then Houghton was gone, and then it was Cooper. So, and Murphy got Barnsley to the playoffs. So clearly he knows what he's doing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That was all last season. We'll move on and look at the glorious land that is the Premier League. Obviously, we're only 2 games in, but a victory this weekend against West Ham United back at the City Ground for the first time in 23 years. I think it was since the last win at the City Ground was a 1-0 victory against Leicester in '99.
Lads, It's mad. It's absolutely mad.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like if I don't even know. Like you feel like you're in a dream and you haven't woke up. I was sat there with. I live in Canada, right? And I was with.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
I was with the Toronto Trickies, their fan group over here in Canada, and I was sat there watching it with everyone. And afterwards, I was kind of looking around, going, "Is this real? Like we were bottom of the league a year ago. Is this? Have we
Yeah.
just beaten West Ham at home? Has Dean Henderson
West
just
Ham.
saved a penalty? Like it
Yeah.
was just,
Dean Henderson had a masterclass, didn't he? It
yeah,
was
He did.
unbelievable, that game.
he was
He had a
class.
really good game.
Yeah,
I bet Man United were looking at that thinking, oh my God, we could have done with keeping him.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy though. West Ham, who just had that crazy European run last season. Like you said, you were bottom of Championship last season. It's how crazy how in like not even a year you two have kind of
Cross paths.
cross paths and you've beaten them in your second game of the Premier League. That's just crazy.
it's magic. It's the magic of Steve Cooper as well. And I think that, look, to be fair to West Ham, they hit the bar twice. They had a disallowed goal
Yeah,
and they had a penalty. So, like, they were well within their rights to take a draw from that game. We did get a little bit lucky, but we're still building and gelling.
Yeah, 100%.
But it is crazy how things can turn around, and that's kind of why we love football, isn't it? You know, 1 minute you're down and out completely, the next minute you're up in the Premier League doing wondrous
It's
things.
it's a very fickle game, isn't it?
It is. On the topic of kind of your squad gelling and just kind of getting used to the Premier League, obviously last season in the Championship, you had quite a lot of high-profile first-teamers that were on loans and then ended up leaving when you came up to the Prem. So you've had, let's say, quite an active transfer window, to say the least.
Yeah, it's been.
What is your take? Yeah, I was going to say it's been a bit
It's been
crazy.
wild.
What is your take on? Yeah, what is your take on that wild transfer window that you've had?
At first, when the window first opened, right, we just got promoted. I was at Wembley for the game. It was amazing.
Nice.
And in my head, all I
Yeah.
was thinking of was like, we had 7 or 6 starting players on loan, I think. We had another 2,
Yeah.
our goalkeeper and Graben left. So we
Yeah.
had 8 starting positions to fill, and then the rest of the squad, obviously, we need to build on. You know, if they're squad players in the Championship, they're not going to be good enough to be necessarily squad players in the Premier League. So
Yeah.
we needed to mix it up. But in my head, I was just like in awe when the transfer window opened. This was probably the craziest transfer window I've ever seen. I'll be honest, not just with Forest, just in general.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, so I've only known like someone like Watford did it a couple of seasons ago when they got promoted to the from the Championship to the Prem. They had kind of like a entire squad turnover, and that didn't end up that well. It was kind of just like loads of players that didn't work together well and that kind of vibe. But they're the only other team that I've seen kind of go as crazy in the market.
I think Fulham sort of did it a couple seasons ago.
They did, yeah.
Kind of, I
And
think everybody gets a bit crazy with the old playoff money, don't
it
they?
was a little bit reminiscent of like QPR. But after that Warnock season, we
Yeah.
stayed up the following season.
Right.
And then we got Mark Hughes in and spent a ridiculous amount of money just on massive names with no sort of like reason. The fact you bought in, like, I think it's now 15 or
I
16
think you're
players.
on, 15 signing.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard 2 different perspectives. I've seen a lot of people saying, right, they're doing this the wrong way. They're just going for big name players. They're going for people who've like been there but like weren't good enough. And then I've got the other end saying they had to do this because they did lose so many of their starting players.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's your sort of, where do you fit along that sort
Well,
of?
obviously, I fit in the latter because I know what happened. I was there through the reality of the season, and I know which players have left. I think the narrative in the media all started with Jesse Lingard. As soon as Jesse Lingard
Yeah, of
came
course it
in,
did, yeah.
everyone went, well, hang on, what are Forest doing here? They're paying him X amount per week. This is a bit wild. He's not really played last season. They're bringing this player in, and then we started rolling with the other transfers. And I think that they assumed Forest were just doing a Fulham or Watford, like you said. But it's not the case. We had to bring in 10 or 12 players because we had 8, as I said, 8 players who were gone anyway, right? And then 8 starting players were gone anyway. And then on top of that, you know, it just, you need to, you know what I saw yesterday? The narrative started turning in the last week. And yesterday I saw something on Sky. It was really interesting. It was a bloke talking about how Steve Cooper and the team have identified what's happened in his previous seasons. Some teams come up like Norwich and they tweak a little bit and they play defensive, but they always go back down. The most teams who try and stay and do the same kind of attacking style football, but buy in, bring in players, they mostly stay up. That's sort of the narrative that I saw yesterday, and I was pleased to see it because look at Leeds 2 seasons ago. They decided to keep playing their football, and they ended up finishing, I think, ninth or something. I know they just about stayed up last season, but Brentford, same thing. I know we bought a lot of players, but we're trying to keep our style of football going, and we would not be able to do that with the squad we had once the loan players left.
I was going to say,
I said this to Luke a couple of weeks ago on one of our other podcasts about how, like you said, if you're a team that's just come up, it's very easy to fall into the trap of, say, like a Norwich, where you go from being the big fish in the small pond of the Championship to the pretty much the bottom team of the league, and you go from playing your best football,
low block football,
and it's easy to fall in that trap where we're the underdog every game, we have to play the defensive.
You lose your identity, don't you?
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, teams like Leeds, like Brentford, like Sheffield United,
Wolves, yeah.
As much as it's scary being the underdog in most games, you've got to stick with your identity, because that's what's got you where you are. And I think that's what Nottingham Forest are doing well. It's not that they've kind of panic brought players that they think, oh yeah, he played in the Prem once, he'll be good. It's Steve Cooper plays this kind of expansive football that he needs. He needs the likes of Emmanuel Dennis, who I think is an insane signing, Taiwo Awoniyi, Jesse Lingard, these kind of players that can play this progressive football that Steve Cooper's looking to play. And yeah, I think the window, as crazy as it's been,
it was necessary.
Another thing, in the Prem, you need depth all over the place. A couple of injuries to star men, and you can go from being mid-table to getting in the relegation battle, like Everton, who Calvert-Lewin got injured, and now they're pretty much relegation fight. So, yeah, I think you're going about business well.
So, obviously, Forest have had this massive overhaul of the squad, and whether you deem it necessary or not, do you think it's going to impact the style of play that you sort of had in the Championship? Obviously, you brought in a lot of new players, a lot of different players to what you had. Do you think the style of play and what we could expect out of Forest in terms of their identity will change?
I don't think so, because Cooper already proved the last two games, be it the Newcastle game where we were very poor or the West Ham game where we were much better, that he's going to try and play the same style of football with those wing backs pushing forward, with Brennan Johnson slipping in behind and a striker taking down the ball and laying it off for our attacking mid. I think he's going to keep it the same, and we've just basically filled those positions that we lost in order to keep playing that way. Except sometimes, in some ways, I think we've actually got upgrades. We would have kept Jed Spence if we could, but he went to Spurs. Now he's not playing, unfortunately. James Garner, we would have rebought him, but Man United left him out in the cold for too long, and now they want 14 million from him. It's too late. We've got too many midfielders. Same thing with Keenan Davis. Villa priced him out, and now he's down at Watford, and we took Dennis instead. So it's one of those things. We would have taken our three players back that we really wanted, but we couldn't, and needs must, and you got to move quick in this transfer window because it's an early start to the season.
Speaking of Brennan Johnson, he had an absolute breakout season last year in the Championship. It was absolutely amazing. His link up with Awoniyi and Lingard in the last game, particularly against West Ham, it was pretty exceptional. And is that a trio you're quite excited to look to watch during the season?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Neco Williams and Brennan Johnson know each other from the Welsh squad as well.
Neco Williams had an outstanding game. I thought he was potentially maybe behind Dean Henderson, my man of the match for that game.
Yeah, he's a good signing. Like, I know you mentioned Jed Spence, and kind of there was a lot of talk about if you can't replace him, that'd be a bit of a nightmare. But I think Neco Williams is probably on par with Jed Spence, maybe even currently, because he's playing for Wales internationally. He's been in and around that Liverpool squad for so long. Maybe even an upgrade on Jed Spence.
I think you're bang on, absolutely bang on. Because I would never say he's an upgrade, because I don't know what Jed Spence's full potential is. I want to wait and see how he grows, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does at Spurs if they ever play him with their six wing backs. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but, they just signed another one today, Udogie.
Did they?
Yeah, another one.
This is so Spurs, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then they'll let everyone down at the end of the season. But no, I think, he could potentially be an upgrade. We'll see. But the fact that we managed to bring someone in so quickly who is definitely at least on par was amazing. And thanks for saying that, mate. You watched the game. You obviously saw how good Williams was. And it was really clear from his first couple of passes that he's just something special, right?
He's got quality, It's easy to tell.
And what that shows me as well, the whole getting Neco Williams situation in, is that obviously the plan must have been when you got promoted that we'll try and get any of the loanees we had to sign. But it's not like, oh shit, we can't get these loanees to sign. What is our plan now? It's we'll try, and then if we can't, we have already planned backups to each of these loanees that we can go out and get if we can't manage to get those loanees, which I think shows that there is a bigger plan in the kind of Forest project at the moment, which must be, as a supporter, ideal to see.
It's unbelievable. And even just being a Forest fan, not coming back to the Premier League, just to see transfer stuff being linked with players like Lingard and Freuler and Williams and, even Dennis now, like bringing them in. It's just exciting. It's exciting, man. Go ahead.
The OR links that you're having currently, he was
linked with every top team.
Yeah, he was
Europe.
linked with Real Madrid, Juventus, Arsenal, not even like a season and a half ago. So to be in and around the conversation of getting him, that must be exciting.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's incredibly exciting. They're saying it's almost a done deal. Now, I don't have any major contacts in there, but there's a lot of rumors right now on Twitter that are saying it's pretty much a done deal. But he's probably, it would be unbelievable. I don't know enough about him, but a lot of my mates have been like, listen, this guy he could be your best
crazy
signing.
player,
So is he?
100%.
Is he? Yeah.
He's good.
I don't know.
He was linked. So I support Arsenal, and he was linked with us a couple of seasons ago before we signed Thomas Partey. And so I did a bit of looking into him, and he's young, so technically gifted. He has, so there was rumours of an attitude problem, but for me, I think if that is just rumours and he comes in, knuckles down, Stephen Cooper kind of imparts his project on him and gets him on side, I think there's an absolute player that you're going to sign there. And I'll be very excited to see him in the Prem.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that he's linked with Arsenal, so I love the Arsenal boys. You lads you're having a good season so far. It's only 2 games in, but those signings you guys have made, Zinchenko and Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. Like
you said, it's exciting time for Nottingham Forest, but it's an exciting time for Arsenal as well. Like, I think for so long we've kind of lacked this project, kind of this overarching idea of where we want to go, and I think we've finally got that kind of vibe. And so I think it's exciting times for us as well.
Yeah.
Obviously we've heard a lot, almost too much about Arsenal's
I
expectations.
do waffle on about
season.
Arsenal far too much.
I'm okay with it. They're my brother's an Arsenal fan, so I love the Arteta project. But anyway,
yeah, love that.
Just sort of wrapping up, what for you would be a successful season, and like what are your expectations come game week 38? The end of the season.
So I said this before the start of the season, and this is purely based on Steve Cooper and what he's capable of. The man is our best manager since Brian Clough, and I don't know anyone that would say otherwise. Frank Clark might be up there, but definitely, and we've been through maybe 20 managers since then, maybe more. But I would say our ceiling is 12th. So that's our ceiling. A lot of people might say we could do 12th. I'd say our ceiling is 12th. I would say our bottom is 17th, because I don't think we're going to get relegated, and I would consider a success 17th. Your first season up,
100%.
You stay up, that's a success for me. And I don't care what anyone says, how much money we've spent the same amount of money that Chelsea have on 2 players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think any championship team that comes up into the Prem, anything that isn't relegation for me is just an automatic win.
The golfing class between
you just
championship
need
and
to
the
cement yourself back in the Prem.
Get that money back in as well.
Like you said in the media all the time, the Nottingham Forest are a sleeping giant, and you can't become this yo-yo team like the Fulhams, like the Norwiches, that spend the money, get back up, and then come down. You need to do it in a kind of a more thought out way, and if you can get in the Prem, stay in the Prem, a couple of seasons, say you're in and around 17th, 16th, 15th for a couple of seasons, I'm sure the Nottingham Forest fans wouldn't mind that if that meant in 5 years' time, you're mid-table and you slowly work your way up into the kind of the Prem ladder. And
What West Ham done.
Yeah.
I completely agree. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's exactly what we want to do. And at the end of the day, I think this whole conversation can almost be wrapped up with, you need a combination of both. You need to keep the same type of football, but you still need to invest loads of money because you need the quality to come in.
Yeah.
And if you do both of those things, you'll end up staying up, and that will be a successful season for us, staying in the Premier League.
Yeah. Fantastic, yeah. I think that about wraps it up anyway.
Chris, it's been great to have a chat.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks a million, lads. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I'm sorry that Yeah, I don't know. I've had a bit of a coffee, so if I was talking too fast or going too nuts
You've been
there, I
great, mate. You've been
apologise.
great. We'll definitely
Right.
have a chat down the line again. Maybe when Nottingham Forest are surprising everyone, they've snuck into the top half of the table. We'll get you
Well,
back
listen,
on.
you're an Arsenal fan. We like getting fans onto our podcast whenever Forest are playing those teams. My brother's an Arsenal fan as well. But when we play Arsenal, I'd love to reach out to you and maybe get you on.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah, or
100%. Drop
both
us
of
a
you
message.
on is fine. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, it doesn't.
100%. Drop us a message. We'll
Yeah.
be glad to hop on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want
it'd
to
be
plug
interesting.
your? Do you want to plug your podcast or your socials before we dip?
Yeah. Oh, cheers, man. I am one of the hosts of the ForestAllOver podcast, which is between Nottingham and Canada. I'm in Canada. Matt's in Nottingham. Obviously, we're Nottingham Forest fans, and it's based on fan groups all around the world. So we get different guests from different fan groups. We've had Nottingham Forest in North America, with people from China, South America, all coming on from different fan groups. But it's also about two best friends who sort of hate each other but love Forest. We argue a lot.
That's us, but yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
football.
That's it. The football is the common denominator.
It is, and you'll argue, and you will. And sometimes people call in, and they go, "Why are you lads okay?"
Yeah.
Like they actually,
Yeah.
they actually check in on us, and we're like, "No, we're fine. We're best friends." It's just like I'm going to argue with them every time we talk about football.
Yeah, exactly that.
That is the beauty of the game.
That
Anyway,
is.
thanks so much for
Chris,
coming on, Chris.
pleasure.
Really appreciated it, and thanks for letting us pick your brain about Nottingham Forest. Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
100%. Thanks a million. And yeah, this podcast looks like it's going places as well. So fair play to both of you.
I
Love that.
appreciate it.
Cheers,
Thank
Chris.
you very much, Chris.
See you later. Have a good
See you
evening,
later.
mate.
Right, and we're back. We're about to talk about Roz's favourite team on the planet. We're about to talk about Arsenal's 4-2 victory over Brendan Rodgers' Leicester City. The Gabriel Jesus show.
Oh yeah, I was literally going to say there's only one man really that you need to talk about when talking about that game, and it's Gabriel Jesus.
2 goals, 2 assists.
Best striker in the Premier League.
In the world.
In the world, maybe.
Ballon d'Or.
For me, he just, on your home debut, what more do you want? Obviously, a hat-trick would be nice, but 2 goals, 2 assists,
And the
absolutely
quality of
ran the show.
the first goal as well.
Disgusting.
He has so little space in the box. And to pick out that little boop over the defenders
Do that one
behind
again?
Overwood, just delicious. Boop.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Martinelli had another great showing.
Martinelli, outrageous player, mate.
Yeah, Vardy had an absolute nightmare. of a game.
Howler, what was it? Like, got done for diving.
He was just getting absolutely bullied on the pitch by his wife.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The whole Rebecca Vardy.
Hey, do you
you're
know
a
what? It's
snitch.
also sick. I love the new Gabriel Jesus chant.
What's that one? Oh, yeah, I know what
He's
we mean.
collecting all the Gabbies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
unbelievable.
is a
Just Arsenal keeping on this like fantastic run of form, and yeah, I mean, talking like we've said what we have to say about Arsenal. Really, I know you want to talk about them forever, but Leicester, they're just
There's a problem there.
There is a problem. I mean, you've got Fofana, you've got Maddison, Tielemans, and now even Vardy.
Jamie Vardy linked with Man United.
Man
What an
United.
absolute mare.
Like 4 key players in your team.
Well, like in the notes here, you've got do they want more signings before the window shuts? And it's a combination of, if you're a Leicester fan, we'll put it out there to Leicester fans, would you rather the window shuts now and you keep those 4 players that Luke mentioned, or you let it run the duration, which is what now, like another couple of weeks, potentially lose those, but you might be in the market for more? What would you rather?
I think personally, if I was a Leicester fan, I'm looking for the window to shut now, because
Yeah,
if
same.
you lose a Maddison, Tielemans, a Fofana, or a Vardy, like in the next week or so, you do not have the time to get an adequate replacement.
Yeah.
Unless they're looking now and they already have deals sort of that we don't know about, and they're ready for it to. All right, so if Vardy does go to Man United, we've got another replacement coming in. But like, you can't really replace sort of that sort of talismanic striker that they've had over that time.
I think he's probably the one out of all of them that I'd be most happy to let go. You've got Patson Daka, you've got Iheanacho.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think for me, it's Fofana and Maddison are the problems. If either of them two go, I know you'll get a healthy chunk of cash. You're saying like 80 million for Fofana and probably like 60 for Maddison. But even still, like you said, I don't think they've got the time. Leicester are quite good recruitment-wise. They have quite a smart kind of strategy in the transfer market usually. But for me, like you said, I think they've probably gone into this window pretty much certain they're not going to lose these players, and probably haven't thought about an outcome if
When
they do. Yeah.
I think for me, if I'm a Leicester fan, I'm looking for the window to shut tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%.
But,
100%.
Yeah, moving on, we had Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. Both teams keeping up their unbeaten runs at the start of the season.
Brighton did pepper Newcastle.
Brighton were all over them. Strikers, again, sort of like Everton, but Brighton are much better. They need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. I know they were just like the XG sort of gods of like the last couple of seasons, Brighton, but like they've signed Undav. You made
me get him in my fantasy team.
He got 1 minute against United. Like, is he just not fit? Is he not fitting into the system? Yeah. Does he not understand how they want to play? I mean, Mope's off to Forest apparently, so
it's crazy in the market. Forest.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle were poor, but I think both these teams don't have anything to worry about. I think they'll have exciting seasons.
I think both top half, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I agree. Leeds to Southampton to other way around though.
Talk to me about Southampton, because I know we spoke about them in the kind of team previews in the Southampton one, and we spoke about how they've had an okay market.
Yeah,
the likes of Lavia,
Aribo,
good signing. Do you think they've got enough in them to not be in a relegation battle?
Do you know what? I think they do. I rate Ralph Hasenhüttl as a manager. I really do. But I feel like and I heard this on the TIFO podcast. They were talking about it and they said he's always sort of in that boat where he's one bad game away from getting sacked.
Yeah.
But like,
I think I listened to that podcast.
Yeah. I like how he plays. I like how he sets up. But like, they also discussed whether he'd been given the right sort of players to be able to fulfill how he wants to play.
Yeah.
I think the signing of Aribo is really good. I think he's a brilliant player.
Yeah, great.
I like Lavia as well. I think he's really smart signing. A lot of money. I think it was 18 million or 16 million for him from Man City. But I think that's a brilliant signing still. I think they do have enough to avoid being in the relegation battle. But I really want them to... I think they had a really good striker. They'd be able to, be a bit more...
Yeah, no, I agree.
Bit more sure about not being in that relegation battle. Leeds obviously went 2-0 up. I heard some Leeds fans saying that, like, what was Jesse Marsh doing? He before the game they were speaking about, he was asked about like the weather because it was like 35 or 33 degrees or whatever, and he said,
Fucking
I'm from America, I know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then he made one substitution by 60 minutes, and I think it was the Bamford injury. Bamford went off injured again, and like it's like, well, if you're 2-0 up, make those substitutions.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to change your winning formula, but it is hot. You've got a lot of like tight legs out there. Get some fresh legs on.
The likes of Adam Forshaw, that's the kind of player you want to sub on.
Yeah, or click like.
Yeah, just the short.
Up that midfield.
Yeah, 100%.
But instead, it fell apart for them. Aribo came on and set up one of the goals, and then Kyle Walker-Peters as well scored the other. But yeah, I mean, I think these are two teams. I think Leeds will probably finish above Southampton this season.
Yeah.
I think Rodrigo had quite a good game.
Yeah, he kind of had a sticky last season, didn't he? Where he kind of was in and around the squad, didn't really know his best position, and then when he played, didn't really make an impact. But I don't know if it because Rafinha's gone he's stepping up a bit. He kind of likes the idea of being kind of the main man for a bit.
Yeah. Before
the likes of Sinistera get properly integrated, if Bamford does get fit, whatever. So I do think he maybe likes the leading role. And yeah, so I think Leeds, like you said, I think they'll do better than Southampton this season. I think they'll be all right.
Next game we got Wolves versus Fulham 0-0, a big bore draw.
That was a big bore draw. Like Brighton versus Newcastle, that was 0-0, but that wasn't a bore draw. That was an all right game of football. Whereas Wolves Fulham, stinky.
Yeah, 4 shots in target between the two teams in 90 minutes. For
me, I think Fulham, that's fine. You're away at quite a hard to break down Wolves team. Wolves have got a fat problem, mate. They can't buy a goal for the love of God.
They just signed what's his name though?
Gonzalo Guedes from Valencia.
He could be a really good addition because he's quite progressive.
Me, like I've never watched a team be so boring. Impotent, mate. Yeah. It's crazy.
But like they have no right to be because they do have really good
Neto, Podence, Hwang.
Yeah, I mean
I don't know why they let Fabio Silva go. I think he's on like 4 goals in 2 games for Anderlecht, which is for me, there's a problem with Wolves.
Big problem.
I think there's a problem.
The less said about that, the better, perhaps.
But the more said about this game,
the next one.
the more said, the better.
Thomas Frank's Brentford 4-0 Man United.
0. First half an hour of football, as far as Premier League first half an hours go,
maybe
that might be my favourite first half in Prem ever.
Would you rather watch that again or the first 40 minutes of the Arsenal Palace game?
Honestly, that. I know we were really good against Palace and that was our first game and it was nice to see the zip, the energy. But just watching Man United take an absolute battering.
Eric went from 10 months to 10 weeks.
Oh my God. I said, so in our predictions last week, I said it was going to be a win for Brentford, but I didn't think it'd be a royal fucking...
It was bad.
That first half an hour, I've never seen.
And I thought, you know what? There's no way they could be as poor as they were against Brighton.
They were worse.
But they were worse.
They were worse.
And every single Brentford player, was up for it. And I think Brentford ran 18 kilometres more than United. And they wanted the Monday off. And then United...
Ten Hag
made them run 18k.
For me, United, so there's fucking the whole plethora of problems.
We could do a 15-hour podcast about United.
And maybe
issues.
we will. If they end up, say Christmas time, if they're in the relegation zone, we'll do a big Christmas extravaganza about Man United. But for me, I'm going to put it out there. One of my top problems with Man United is David De Gea.
David De Gea, letting Dean Henderson go. David De Gea, I know he's perhaps maybe the best shot stopper in the Premier League.
And he's been their only good player for the last, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years.
But
he is pulling you down.
He can't play in a system where you need to retain possession starting with the keeper. He was at full. I don't know. The first goal where he goes to the ball goes in the corner and he goes to grab it this.
So
and
that one's just poor goalkeeping
technique. Poor technicality.
The second one,
the first rule of goalkeeping is get your body behind the ball.
Yeah,
isn't it?
And then the second one, he plays it out to Eriksen, who is getting pressed
and Ericsson,
so hard by
entire body language. Every sign that Eriksen's given off is "Don't play it to me."
Yeah,
I'm making.
All Eriksen's done is pull Jensen in with him, so De Gea can go
over the top.
Yeah, over the top, just down the middle. And I harp on about this every single time I talk about Man United, but that defence, when it comes to football IQ, is so poor. They're all so stupid.
I mean,
sorry,
even with Ronaldo on the pitch, I would argue that United's team's football IQ is bottom of the barrel.
It's so bad. If you have De Gea, who his decision making is fucking shit. You got Harry Maguire, whose decision making is shit. Luke Shaw, whose decision making is shit. If you got all three of them trying to play out from the back between them, it's a recipe for disaster. It's like when Arsenal used to go back to Arsenal. But not that Leno's decision making is terrible. He's actually quite a good goalkeeper, but his passing out from the back is kind of like De Gea.
He wasn't good with the ball.
They're both good shot stoppers, but they can't play out from the back. And when you pair that with the likes of Mustafi and I don't know, Kolasinac, they're going to lead you if you want to play out from the back, but the IQ isn't there, you're going to have issues. But now, Arsenal have got in a keeper that's comfortable playing it out from the back. Centre-backs whose IQs are good. Zinchenko, whose football IQ is crazy. Now you can do that, but Ten Hag's come in, not recruited properly, and then, I don't know if that's down to him or down to the board, but they haven't recruited properly, so they're stuck with these players that can't do this style, whose IQs aren't good enough for this style, but you're still making them do this style. If you do that against Liverpool, it's going to be fucking 8-0.
But so the thing is,
sorry, I got a bit vexed there.
He's pretty much inherited a squad that under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saw the most success playing this counter-attacking football, really fast in transition, which is where Bruno Fernandes sort of excel because he likes catching teams when they're transitioning from attack into defence, and he gets a lot of space to work with, and he can make a really nice pass, or he can make a run and then hit it from 20 yards, or arrive late on the edge of the box. But when you want to move to a style of play where it's more expansive and you're very possessive of the ball, you want to build up through the thirds, and have this movement, creating spaces for overlaps, underlaps, whatever you want, even allow your number 10 to float a bit more. When you don't have a back four which can play out, and you don't have a number 6 who can play as that pivot player and allow you to sort of break up play as well as play forward passes.
Eriksen is not the answer.
He's not the answer, but he's probably the best answer they have at the minute.
It's so bad.
But then you've got a player in Bruno Fernandes who isn't an 8. He's not really a 10. He's a sort of weird mixed hybrid of them, where he doesn't like to shuttle the ball. He likes to play very vertically. And then you've got a player in Ronaldo who doesn't press, but like he will score you goals. And then it's like you've got Jadon Sancho, who was phenomenal at Dortmund, and we've seen a glimpse of what he can do, but he's not been allowed to fulfill it. And then you've got Marcus Rashford, who some of the decision making has to be just brought into question. What has happened?
Yeah, like, his career trajectory is going to end up like Dele Alli if he doesn't buck up his ideas.
Genuinely, there's been times where he's got a ball in and it's like inside the box, and instead of playing like a cutback to the edge of the area where Bruno Fernandes would be arriving or Donny van der Beek or someone, he's just smashing it. He's having pot shots because he's so frustrated and so desperate to get back to where he was.
I think that's the word. It's just everyone in that team is a combination of frustrated and just shot confidence-wise, and they're just making so many bad decisions, and it's a combination of they're making bad decisions out of frustration and bad decisions out of just being fucking thick as shit.
But I don't want to talk about Man United too much because obviously it was their mistakes that led to the downfall. But Brentford were
let's
very
talk about
good.
Brentford.
Brentford were very
they
good.
Were so good.
Brentford.
And like that's the problem. If you beat like a big team, it's always the big team's failure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brentford were outstanding.
I was listening to a thing where a guy said he spoke to a couple of the Brentford players after the game, and one in particular was Josh Da Silva.
What player?
And Josh Da Silva literally said, we knew even to get a point out of this game, we would have to outwork them, and we'd have to be at our maximum like work levels to be able to basically get something from it.
Yeah.
And we had to put out, every player needs to put out a 9 out of 10 performance, and they did. Like if you look at, I think there's a point where Tony comes into zone half and he bodies like, I think it might be Ronaldo off the ball, and then he plays a forward pass. Like you hardly ever see number
Tony,
9s
outrageous player. Yeah. Outrageous player. Is he the best striker that isn't Gabriel Jesus in the league? I'm joking, but no.
Danny Ings,
such a good player, and him and Mbomo for the fourth goal. Do you see Mbomo and the way he absolutely burnt Luke Shaw running down?
Yeah,
Luke Shaw. I swear, all he's known for is pace. Luke Shaw, really, and he got burnt by Mbomo.
Mbomo is fast though.
Yeah,
I thought Jensen had a phenomenal,
outrageous game because he's the kind of player that goes under the radar, and I've seen some Brentford fans say that he kind of is just taking up a spot. He isn't really doing this or that. Like his output isn't always great, but for me, he works so hard every game. And you saw in that United game, the way he pressed Eriksen, the way he's pressing everyone, but mainly for Eriksen for the second goal. That goal doesn't come if he's not pressing Eriksen.
Oh, 100%. And De Gea made the mistake.
Yeah, so
like
I think...
you say, the fact that Brentford went there with the plan just to outwork them, and they battled for every ball, and they literally, and I said this in the last podcast when we talked about our all-time Premier 11s, they fought tooth and nail, and they looked like it was many as boys. They were bodying United off everything. United players didn't look like they wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, you know how we spoke about Leicester? Do they need the transfer window to stay open longer or to shut tomorrow? I think it's the same sort of with United. Like, we've got a lot of players here who are probably thinking, right, I'll put on a half-show performance and then I can probably be out the door and get like a tiny little paycheck or whatever, you know. Or do they need to sit there and just invest heavy into players that will actually suit the system? Because these players haven't played in a cohesive system of progressive football. They've played for a while, counter-attacking football, and like when United beat PSG, and it sort of extended Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's like tenure there by
get
like
the contract
20,
out, let him sign
by about 200 times it should have been. They can't play this progressive, expansive football that Ten Hag wants them to play because the players just aren't good enough.
No.
And until they get a number 6, and I know Rabiot's deal was apparently off, but like, who can they get?
Yeah, for me, if the plan was Frankie de Jong, they should have made everything to happen. Pay like double the amount that he's worth if that's what it takes. You're Man United. You're already in the spotlight for spending stupid. Do it for a player that you think is going to be worthwhile. There's no point now bottling it and getting in someone's shit like Rabiot, or Rabiot, however you pronounce his name, or like, so now they're linked with Casemiro. It's like there is no plan.
Yeah, there is. And like, I think every player they've been linked with has suddenly instantaneously come out and been like, yeah, I'm not leaving.
Yeah, literally every player they get linked with Man United, they're like, shit, I need to try a bit harder in my glove.
How the mighty have fallen.
You love to see it. You do. It just is. Love to see it.
Yeah, it was a hard watch. but it was also great to watch.
We'll take Nottingham Forest back in the Big Six and kick Man United out.
Yeah, I mean, how long does Ten Hag have? Because
10 weeks.
10 minutes.
Come on.
Yeah, like genuinely, I mean, I think it's though, I can't see them struggling. Like, they will win games. And like, so you're getting against Liverpool.
Will they?
Is it Monday night?
If they fucking jam their way to a win against Liverpool, I'll throw this laptop out the window,
really
mate.
Can see it happening.
So can I, and that's why it's like we shouldn't be able to see that happening. They've just lost 2 on the bounce, haven't scored a goal yet. Oh no, they have. They scored 1, but like, how can we still, in the back of our mind, see them doing an upset against Liverpool? It's so annoying.
It's because we know, like, the individual players,
so jammy.
They do have
Ronaldo
quality.
will just score like a hat trick for fun.
Ronaldo, Sancho's a great player on his day. Rashford went like 3-4 years ago, phenomenal player. You know, Anthony Martial, when he's back fit, he had a really good start to preseason.
He did.
Like, we've seen glimpses of him being excellent.
Yeah,
you know,
I think there's a
Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen as well. You know, like, if Harry Maguire gets back to Leicester form,
you've seen all the memes recently about Elon Musk buying Man United, and then it's like
giving Eriksen
it's like Eriksen with a robotic heart, and then it's just fucking just charging down the wing.
It's like Harry Maguire's Tesla's driving him to like Mexico.
Yeah. And it's like Martinez with a jetpack on to try and defend corners.
To win headers, yeah. Oh, mate. But
it's just a Man United are a meme at the moment.
That was all a joke, apparently.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see that, though.
Yeah,
big time. That would have been hilarious. Can you imagine?
Get a nice little
name of SpaceX.
Oh, mate, it'd be
sick. Would have been hard. But yeah, I think, you know,
Man United, they probably come under enough stick. They don't need us giving it the
Man
skill.
United
I will probably
in
be
the
back next week to fucking banter them some
when
more.
they lose 6-0 to Liverpool.
I bloody hope so.
Klopp scoring a header.
Let's not even talk about Klopp. Well,
I think we'll take a little break now.
Yeah,
we'll take a little break. Okay. And we'll be back with the remaining fixtures. I think we've got Chelsea, Spurs, and Liverpool, Palace. And then we'll be back with our Game Week 3 predictions.
Let's go.
Let's go. Chelsea 2 Spurs.
What the fuck was that? Let's go. Chelsea 2 Spurs. We were at the pub to watch this game. It was actually quite a good game of football.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was...
Best game of the weekend?
I would say so, yeah. Just, it had everything.
I'd say maybe second behind Brentford Man United.
Yeah, but for different reasons.
Yeah, this is like the quality of football from both teams. Actually...
No, Spurs was stinky.
Spurs were a bit stinky, weren't they? Obviously, you can't be super stinky to draw 2-2 against Chelsea, who were playing some pretty good football.
I think Spurs are very lucky to come out of this with a point.
There's a lot of talking points in this game. Should we start with...
We'll start with the first goal.
Koulibaly.
Kalidou Koulibaly.
What goal?
What an absolute...
Whatever Rudiger can do, I can do better. That's what he's saying. Because Rudiger was always known for scoring some fucking belters.
He would just smash it from 40 yards, wouldn't he?
So Koulibaly's just come in and been like, yeah, mate.
The technique on that volley was up there with some of the best ever.
Yeah, no, it was an outrageous goal. We were in the pub and we were like, I was getting some beers and you were like, fuck me, centre-back doing that.
Mate,
yeah, crazy.
I mean, you have to question, though, Spurs is defending from that set piece. Because they've gone for a zonal marking system, but they've left arguably... the biggest threat.
Yeah, I thought that.
Open.
Like how no one even marking his run, marking his area. It was just so bad.
On the edge of the box, where he was sort of just inside that sort of line. And you're thinking, he's probably going to make a late run and get the momentum so he can get above the defender. And
but he just had so much time to watch the ball come in, line up his volley. You can't leave that kind of time in the box.
You had Spurs players just marking
so bad.
And it's like, well, even if you're going for a zonal marking system, you should really put someone because if they have anyone near him, he doesn't have the time or the ability to hit the technique.
Yeah, either someone blocks it or he scuffs it because he's watching the player and watching the ball.
They put a shoulder into him and that's it.
But you can't give a centre back.
You can't give a professional football player that time in the box.
It's a joke.
It just doesn't. Yeah, and then
I've said in my preview when we were doing the previews of Team Spurs' defence for me, even with the recruitment. That is, obviously, it's going to be their weakest part because their front line is so crazy good. But their defence, for me, is a problem.
I think they had a lot of issues as well in the middle of the park. Like Højbjerg and
Bentancur,
they couldn't really get anything going in the middle.
Nah.
Son was sort of marked out the game.
Yeah.
Kane wasn't really coming deep like we've seen him before to do what he does and sort of make that link-up play. Kulusevski was all right, but he couldn't really get the better of Cucurella. Yeah, it was a strange one. They obviously made some changes and brought on like Richarlison and injected quite a lot. I thought he was quite good when he came on. A few dodgy first touches immediately after coming on.
Yeah,
but he was a problem. Did they go 2-1 was it 2-0 or was it 1-1?
2-0, I think.
2-0. And so the Reece James goal is really weird because Chelsea have overloaded this left side of the pitch and Spurs have literally all come across to match it. And then the ball gets played into Sterling and he's like on where the left back is.
Yeah.
And then Reece James is just in acres of space. It's a whole football pitch where he is. And then no one comes across. He puts a pretty tame shot at Lloris. Lloris just flops. And then Chelsea are suddenly 2-0. And that's it.
Yeah, for me, Spurs' defence, like I said, is a problem. Lloris is a problem. I don't think he's good enough. I think Spurs, if they are in a game where their front line is being marked out of the game, like you said, they'll struggle to get involved because what they rely on is the midfield in the front line. They don't rely too much on the defenders. They rely on the midfielders finding the wide runners, Harry Kane dropping in, and just quick 1-2 pass round the defenders and an overlapping run to get in. But when Son and Kulusevski are getting marked out of the game, Kane can't get involved. They don't offer much.
Well, even if Kane gets involved and the wide players are getting marked out, he's got no one to play the forward pass to, so it always goes backwards. Then we had just some questionable decision making from
so
Jorginho.
many shocking decisions. Anthony Taylor.
The first three goals, fantastic technique on the strike, brilliant positioning by Reece James, and it was a good finish by Højbjerg. But all coming from just poor defending. And what is Jorginho thinking? Yeah, he's got two Spurs players on him, and he's trying to do a drag back in the middle of his box.
It wasn't good.
It was a good strike from Højbjerg. It wasn't particularly venomous or anything, but he did find that the tightest angle. And things like that happen. There's a lot of bodies in the way of Mendy. He probably didn't see the shot until it was too late.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to question what Jorginho was thinking. He got subbed off straight away after that, and I think someone said that it wasn't because of that, but
probably was.
Definitely was.
Let's talk about the best part of the game:
the scraps,
the handbags.
Oh, mate.
So
that was brilliant.
We get 6 or 7 minutes added time because there's a scrap in the box.
You had Cucurella and Romero going at it.
Yeah, so there was a couple of challenges earlier in the game between Cucurella and Romero, so there was already a bit of tension in the air. And then
Cucurella left one on him in the middle of the pitch.
But then Romero literally gets a handful of his hair and just yeets him down.
Oh, mate.
Big red card for me.
It is definitely
a red card every day of the week.
I mean, there's no attempt to play the ball because the ball's not even there. He just literally lays him down in the box.
What I don't understand, VAR check it and they do nothing about it.
And then is it also in the Højbjerg goal where Bentancur fouls
Havertz?
Yeah. But I think it was so far behind the play that they actually couldn't be like, oh yeah, that actually did impact it.
Yeah. Side note: the refereeing in this country is a fucking joke. You see Nigel Pearson come out yesterday and absolutely violate just refereeing.
I would argue that. I know I'm going to talk about QPR, but
Hit me.
Our first four championship fixtures have all been dictated by either decisions going our way that shouldn't have, or decisions going away from us that should have.
Yeah,
and it's really dictated.
It's crazy. And what he said, that he made a really good point in that it's all fine when referees can make wrong decisions because they can just carry on about their business. But say a couple of wrong decisions, like you said, for QPR or Bristol for Nigel Pearson's case. What if he loses his job after a couple of bad decisions?
That's it.
And it's the difference between them making bad decisions and having no repercussions at all, and managers having to put up with bad decisions and potentially losing their jobs. It's crazy.
I mean, how can you argue that England has the best football pyramid in the world when our referees are literally doing that? They don't get selected for the international.
Yeah, it's mental because we have all the money in the English game. We have all the best talent. Why don't we just? I know you get English referees in that system, but we should just get them from abroad.
Just get them in.
Ship them in, mate.
So yeah, we're going back to the Chelsea Spurs game. The handbags and all the chaos
also started when Chelsea got their goal and Tuchel is sprinting down the line past Conte, who's got his head in his hands. And then he came out after the game and he was like, I should have tripped him up because he must have not have seen him when he was sprinting down, which I think is you must have seen him. But yeah, it's just so that already got the beef stirring.
Got the players beefing on the pitch, then it all kicks off, and then obviously that's given the element of chaos. Yeah, brought into the game from all this, and it was on both parts. It was by Spurs and from the Chelsea side as well.
But Chelsea, it's naivety.
If you're Chelsea, you want to just see this game out, even at 2-1. Right, you're thinking, right, we need to slow this down. We need to take control of the game. You don't want to get them amped up and angry. You don't want to get 100%. Them fighting, putting that extra 10%.
Spurs want this.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And Chelsea, it's naive that they brought into it. They should have
Spurs get rolled up,
taken the sting out of the game. Chelsea should have wasted time, do some dives. Not that I condone diving, but egg it
it's all
on.
part of the game.
Just egg it on and let Spurs just
be the masters of their own downfall.
Yeah, but instead they wanted to go blow for blow with Spurs, that led to.
And then you got 6 minutes of added time, whatever it is. The Spurs get was it a free kick?
What, for the goal?
Oh, was it corner? It was a corner, yeah. And then Harry Kane gets his head on it. Arguably, Richarlison's blocking the way. He's like in an offside position, and he's like potentially blocking the view of the keeper. But it was deemed that it wasn't interfering with play. Harry Kane scores a decent header, to be fair. Probably the only goal, I would argue, in the game that wasn't a result of poor defending. I think it's just a good header.
Yeah.
But and then Spurs 2-2, all kicks off after the game, red cards for both managers, and that's it. But I love to see it though.
You do love to see it, and what I liked is Sky Sports saying that we do love to see it.
Yeah.
What I didn't like
Graham Souness.
Is Graham Souness coming out and being like, it's a man's game, we've got our boys back. I was like, Graham, shut up, mate.
I mean, especially after the summer we've had. But you see where he's coming from? I don't think he meant it in the context by saying...
No, I get it. It's a fiery game. You love to see that. But women can have fiery games.
100%.
And so
we saw the fallout of the Euro final. The Germans weren't happy at all.
Exactly.
Best game of the weekend for me anyway.
Yeah, no, I think so as well.
I think Spurs will be happy with a point. I think Chelsea will feel they lost this one of their own behalf.
And for Spurs, they always fucking shit the bed at Stamford Bridge, so a point is a good result, especially being 2-0 down.
Yeah.
Final game of the week?
Final game of the week before we get into our predictions. We had Liverpool 1 Crystal Palace.
I like how you're reading this.
Yeah, nice. Reading it how it is.
For me, Liverpool, I know we were backing them to have a strong season. It's a bit of a wobbly start. Should we start with Darwin Núñez?
No.
No?
No. We're going to start with Palace going 1-0 up.
Okay.
So Palace started the game all right, and then Liverpool grew into it, and they were sort of dominating a lot of passes around Palace.
Liverpool were dominant up until the goal. They were all over Palace.
Oh, yeah. And then it's a clearance that goes out to the left-hand side of the pitch. Eze skips past Fabinho. Lovely touch, by the way. Brilliant touch.
Did you want to start on this so you can fucking
gas Eze?
Yeah, gag.
Well, it's also
Eze.
chronological, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you can jump all over the
place. It is a beautiful touch.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Eze of old before the injury.
Okay.
He skips past Fabinho.
He had a good game.
Absolutely left him for mincemeat.
Yeah.
And plays a beautiful pass to Zaha, who does phenomenal.
Yeah, his run.
It was absolutely
brilliant.
Perfectly timed. And the composure as well to slot it past.
Who was it that played alongside Van Dijk? Nat Phillips. He had a man, mate.
They looked so much better when Joe Gomez came on.
Yeah, I don't know why Joe Gomez doesn't start.
And so, Palace go 1-0 up. Liverpool thinking, right, problems.
Yeah.
Then, Anderson, throughout the entire game, he played in masterclass.
Egging on Darwin Núñez.
We said this in the first week when they played against Arsenal, how he was brilliant with the ball, and even though they lost, he was sort of like a shining star for them.
He played like a different side to his game.
The dark arts. But Fernandinho would have been proud. He riled up Núñez.
You could tell Núñez is a bit of a Larry little Ute.
Did you see the way he slapped at the air?
Yeah. He's a bit of a Larry little Ute, and you could tell that maybe that was in the pre-game plan. It's kind of rile this guy up, see what happens. This is his first game in the Prem. He's gonna wanna do something big. If you can get him riled up, we can do something, and he did exactly that. Couple of pushes in the back, and then, he triggered him.
Yeah, and then Núñez lost his composure, headbutts him.
Out for 3 games now. Dan, get him out your fantasy team, you clown.
Welcome to the Premier League, Darwin Núñez. Yeah. And then a moment of magic from Luis Diaz though.
Yeah, brilliant. Outrageous goal, outrageous player, man.
He's unreal. I think Liverpool are really struggling to... Well, I say really struggling. We're only 2 games in.
Yeah.
And we did say this before the season. It is a period of transition for them. But going from having a false 9 to an actual number 9 is a big change.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think, and obviously they were missing a lot of key players.
Yeah.
Due to the witchcraft or the
judge
that Klopp was referencing. But I mean, Liverpool have now obviously dropped 2 points against Fulham, and then 2 points against Palace.
Yeah.
So 4 points. How many of the last 5 or 6 seasons was that being decisive in? Do you know what I mean? And
I think this is probably bold to say already. I think they're out of the title race.
I think I can't see City dropping 4 points without. I mean, I can see City dropping 4 points, but I think Liverpool will also drop more points going into the season.
Yeah, I think Liverpool have it in them to lose a couple more, and if they do, say City only lose 2 games this season.
I mean, Liverpool can only afford to lose 2 more points.
Exactly, and so for me, like you were saying about how Liverpool transition into a new striker model now, City are doing the same, but City have done it and kicked on immediately. Arguably, City's opening fix. Actually, I was going to say they're not even easier because they've had West Ham, who are quite a hard game.
We haven't even spoken about City this episode.
But they
won 4-0 against Bournemouth.
They just slapped up Bournemouth, and they kind of disappointed us because you predicted 5, I predicted 6. Why did they stop at 4?
Did Haaland had 2 passes or something this game?
Yeah, 2 passes, 8 touches. Yeah,
I know. There was a point where the ball dropped the phone in the box and he should have just squared it.
Yeah.
Haaland,
and then Pep came out and said after that, he was like, the boys need to get used to Haaland always being.
They'll know where he is without even looking,
which is scary to think. Yeah,
he will be scoring
goals.
3 goals a game.
Yeah, 100%.
I think if they can get that down, the guy will score 40 goals.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I think why Liverpool are probably out of the title race is because City, for me, even if Haaland isn't ticking, they're still getting goals.
Yeah.
Whereas Liverpool, if Mo Salah's not ticking,
I mean, we've seen
if Nunez is not playing now, you're asking a lot from the likes of Luis Diaz and Jota.
There are probably 2 or 3 games this season where I could see City not dominating the ball as much, but Liverpool, they did it against Palace and for Fulham for large parts of the game, but they weren't really making anything of it.
Yeah. It's not like they're hitting the bar, testing the keeper loads.
But I'm not worried for them. I think they'll still finish top 3.
They'll be in the Champions League conversation, 100%. But for me, I think it's just their lack of proper potency up top that City have.
Yeah. 100%. I think this sort of wraps up the game week.
It was a good game week.
Lots of goals.
For me, Arsenal win, Man United get slapped. That's what, literally, if I was to sign up for a game week, and those were on offer, that's exactly
Especially
what I want.
when it's Chelsea Spurs, you don't want either of them to win, so you take a draw there as well.
Yeah, no, it was a good game week for me.
But Rod's had quite a decent prediction week as well. No correct scorelines this week.
Yeah,
but,
it's not fun when we don't get correct scorelines. Like you said, I had quite a good one, result wise. I think I got 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
but I'd pick 1 correct score over.
I think I had 2 or 3 out of 10.
Yeah, you had a bit of a stinker, but getting a correct score is fun.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. If I get a correct scoreline this week,
you're back in it. Yeah,
back
100%,
in it. So,
100%.
Should we run through the? Yeah,
let's do it. Let's go for this week's game week predictions.
So starting off on Saturday, we have the 12:30 kickoff. We got Spurs versus Wolves.
Wolves that can't buy a goal for their lives. But I reckon they'll get one this game.
Okay.
I'm going 3-1 Spurs.
3-1 Spurs. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs.
Okay.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs.
Very nice.
I'll go next. Palace versus Villa. Interesting game.
Yeah, it's a good game,
because
actually.
we did see glimpses out of Villa where they were good. I think Palace were very good against Liverpool. And I didn't think they were particularly bad against Arsenal. I think Arsenal were just far too much quality for them. I think, especially if Elise's fit, I'm going to go for a...
You seen the
2-0 Crystal
Ismail
Palace
Assar as well, Palace.
Yeah, Ismail Assar, yeah.
2-0 Palace.
2-0
yeah,
Palace.
I like the sound of that. I'm going to go... Palace conceding. Yeah, no, I'm going to go 2-0 as well, you know.
Okay, 2-0.
Yeah.
We've got Everton versus Forest. Who you got in this one?
Shout out my guy Chris. What guy? I'm going to back Forest, you know.
7-0.
Yeah, I'm going to back Forest. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win.
A 1-0 win?
Yep.
I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
I think that's where I made a lot of my money in, points-wise, is draws. There was quite a lot of draws this week, and that's why I got nice. But yeah, okay, so you said 1-1, I said 1-0 Forest.
Yeah.
Okay, Fulham Brentford.
I fancy...
I think that'll be a good. I think that'll be a good game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1 Brentford. I think Fulham will get their first loss of the season.
Interesting. And now two teams that are very much struggling for inspiration, for kind of maybe even identity at this point in time. Leicester versus Southampton.
It's a sticky one, this. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Leicester.
2-1 Leicester.
2-1
Okay.
Leicester.
Yeah, I do think there'll be goals in this game. Leicester, they scored 2 and 2.
I think it's two bad defences.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah. And you said 2-1 Leicester.
I was thinking 2-2, but I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester.
I said 2-2 for Fulham Brentford. That's the thing. It's like, do you get a fucking polluted brain from your other predictions? I'm going to go 2-2. Actually,
Okay.
yeah, 2-2.
2-2.
2-2.
Bournemouth
Arsenal.
Arsenal. I'm going to go for I fancy a 3-0 Arsenal.
I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal.
Okay.
Fucking come on the boys.
Leeds versus Chelsea.
Leeds versus Chelsea. That's a good game. That I think there's goals in there for Chelsea, but it's a case of with Leeds, for me, they always do turn up against a big team. They're always quite hard to beat.
But that was under Bielsa.
But that was under Bielsa. So I'm going to go. It's going to be an angered Chelsea. I'm going to go 3-0 Chelsea.
I'm going to join you 3-0 Chelsea.
Yep.
That's exactly what I had in my mind.
Okay, West Ham Brighton. That's a good game.
That's going to be a great game.
West Ham currently in the relegation zone.
I fancy. Do you know what? I'm really struggling to see West Ham score goals against well set up teams.
Maybe it's time for Skamaka to get a start.
I think so as well. I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think there'll be many goals in this game. I think there's the opposite of Southampton and Leicester in that they were two shit defences. These are two pretty good defences, pretty stable teams. I'm going to go... I don't want to go 0-0 because Brighton just had a 0-0. I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham. Is that what you said?
1-0 West Ham. No, I said 1-1 draw.
Okay, I'm going 1-0 West Ham.
Newcastle versus City. Oh, that's a hard one.
That is a hard one because it's not like Newcastle
aren't bad. They're kind of hard to break down.
And they always do seem to turn up against City. But for me, it's going to be a 4-0 City.
I think I'm going to go for 5-0 to Man City.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So we were like, Newcastle, they're solidified. They're good.
Yeah.
Boss battered.
And
Last game of the week.
Rounding it up, we have
Best game of the weekend.
the biggest game of the week. We have United versus Liverpool. Ignore those. Ross is just a popular guy.
I've disconnected my fucking iCloud from this MacBook and it's still pinging away. I don't
People
understand
want to reach you, man. It's all the collabs.
It's all the collabs. But yeah, Man United versus Liverpool, arguably the best game of the weekend. Monday Night Football, under the lights. You got Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville on Sky Punditry. It's going to be carnage.
It's going to be great.
What are you saying?
I think that this is the game. If United want to send a message that they're not as shit as everyone thinks they are, it's got to be this game. And I'm worried about Liverpool in terms of they've got a lot of players missing.
Yeah.
Potentially definitely no Nunez, no Jota, potentially no Firmino. So who's going to play in that striker role? Potentially moving Salah over, having Carvalho go to the right. But I think Liverpool do have enough about them. I hope that Joe Gomez starts over Nat Phillips because he had a shocker. 100%. But I fancy goals in this one. Monday Night Football. I'm going to go for a 3-2.
Dun dun.
Liverpool.
Let's go. I hope Liverpool slap them, but I'm gonna be a bit nice to Man United and say, well, be nice. You're still getting pumped 3-1, in my opinion, but I'd love it to be more.
I know you would. But yeah, anyway, that wraps up this episode 16.
I hope you enjoyed.
It's going to be a good week of games. Let us know your predictions down below.
Football, baby.
Make sure we're not going to do a fantasy episode this week because we didn't actually have too much to talk about.
Yeah, we don't want to chat too much fantasy, give away all our gems. Nah, I'm joking. It's just we'll be saying the same things like Salah's good, Haaland's good.
The captaincy this week will be be I think this week's the hardest captaincy because you got Haaland against Newcastle,
Jesus against
Bournemouth, and you've got Salah against United, a poor United team.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult.
Poor United team.
But yeah, anyway, thank you so much to Chris as well from ForestAllOver podcast for coming on. Go check them out. All the links are in the description below. Join our fantasy league. Enter our YouTube competition.
Yeah.
We haven't had many, so if you enter now, you probably got a good chance.
All you need to do is comment on some videos.
That's literally it.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you'll be into a chance of winning a mystery shirt.
Yeah.
Look at all these gems. This could be you.
It's going to be a nice one. It'd be better than the ones back here anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get you the new Dundee United.
Let's go.
The new Dundee United kit.
Follow our socials. That'd be sick. We're going to start churning out TikTok content. We say this every single week.
The TikToks are coming though. We've got a stockpile of them.
But we're making them. And there's some bangers. So head over to our TikTok.
Let us know your predictions
BoreDraw
down
pod.
below. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, TikTok, everything, Instagram. We're nearly at 200 followers on Instagram, so get on there. And if you're a 200 follower,
we'll give you a kiss.
We'll give you a kiss, yeah.
Let's go.
But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. It's been BoreDraw, and it's live.